The sound he made was the first thing I noticed. Not a chuckle. A full laugh. The kind Bryce used at job sites when a younger man said something foolish. His attorney, Rick Salvo, had just called me a woman who never worked a day in her life. And Bryce laughed, like it was the truest thing said all morning. I counted. 4 seconds. I have always counted things when I need to stay still. There were 11 people in that gallery. Bryce's mother in the second row, her hands folded. Rick, pleased with himself. And near the aisle, our daughter Dana, 19, watching her father's shoulders shake. That was the part I felt, not the insult. Her face. I did not correct him. I did not lean toward my attorney and whisper. I sat with my hands flat on the table, the way you sit when you already know how a thing ends, and you are only waiting for the others to catch up. People think silence in a room like that means defeat. Sometimes it means you have already spoken. Somewhere it counts more, and you are simply waiting for it to be read back. 45 years old, and I had learned that the loudest person in a room is usually the one with the least in writing. So I let him laugh. I watched Dana instead of him, and I thought about the envelope that had left my hands 6 weeks earlier, the one now sitting in a folder to my left. I let him laugh. I had already mailed the reason he'd stop. 19 years is a long time to keep quiet about numbers. It did not start that way. Before Bryce, I was a controller. I reconciled accounts for a mid-sized distributor. I knew where every dollar slept, and I was good at it in the way that no one thanks you for. Then, we married, and his crew was 3 trucks and a dream, and it made a certain kind of sense for one of us to come home and hold the rest of the world steady. So I did. I left the job. People said I gave up my career. What I actually did was change employers without telling the new one he'd hired me. When my father passed, the inheritance came to me. $186,000. Bryce called it our seed money. And into the company it went. Into the first real equipment. The first hires. The down payment on the yard. We. I let the words stand. It was easier than the truth. And back then, I still believed easier and kinder were the same thing. For years, I ran his books at the kitchen table. 14 hours a week. Unbilled. Unnamed. Payroll. Receivables. The quarterly filings his accountant only signed. I built the machine that made him look like a self-made man. And I did it well enough that he came to believe his own story. He thought the money vanished into the marriage. I knew exactly where it went. I was served on a Tuesday at 8:12 in the morning, still in my robe with coffee going cold in my hand. A young man apologized as he handed me the envelope. He had kind eyes. It was not his fault. I had known for months, the way you know weather before it turns. The late calls taken in the garage. A name I was not supposed to hear. I want to say the paper surprised me. It did not. Confirmation is not the same as shock. It is heavier and quieter, like a door you expected to close, finally closing. I did not fall apart. I made fresh coffee. I sat with it. At the first mediation, he arrived certain. Bryce has always been comfortable in a room, and he filled that one, talking about what he had built, the trucks, the crews, the reputation. When my contribution came up, he smiled at the mediator like they shared a private joke. 19 years, and he offered me 7% of his assets. 7. He said it the way you'd toss a coat to someone in the cold, expecting thanks. I said almost nothing. I wrote the number down. I have always written numbers down. Grief, I have learned, does not always cry. Sometimes it just gets very organized. That night, I did not argue with him in my head, the way I had the nights before. I was done rehearsing. That night I didn't cry. I opened a drawer I hadn't touched in years. The drawer was in the spare room, under the winter linens. A plain accordion folder I had not opened in years, because I had not needed to. I already knew what was inside. I had put it there, the deed to the yard, the land the company sat on, the trust my father's attorney had drawn up when the inheritance came through, the one Bryce signed without reading, because reading was my job. My name on both, never removed, because no one ever thought to remove what no one remembered, was there. I laid it all on the bed, and sat with it a long time. Then I did what I do. I opened a fresh ledger, and I started reconciling. That was when the small things surfaced. Following the company money the way I used to, out of habit as much as anything, I found 3 accounts I did not recognize. Money moved out over the last 18 months. quietly, in amounts small enough not to shout. $240,000 he assumed I would never see, because for 19 years I had only ever looked when he asked me to. I felt no rage. That surprised me. I felt the old, clean click of a column finally balancing. I did not photograph it, in triumph. I logged it. Dates, amounts, the little breadcrumb transfers. I built the record the way I had always built his, carefully, in my own hand. I wasn't gathering evidence to fight him. I was gathering it, so I'd never have to. Nadia Okonkwo did not look like what Bryce expected, and that was the first thing I liked about her. 39, soft-spoken, a small office with too many books. Rick Salvo would take one look and file her under harmless. People had been making that mistake about me for 19 years. I knew the shape of it. I set the folder on her desk and let her read. She did not rush. She turned each page like it might be load-bearing, because it was. The deed. She checked it against the county record and confirmed what I already knew. The land had never left my name. The trust, intact. My father's structure holding after all these years. And the 3 accounts, the $240,000, laid out in my own hand beside the statements that proved it. He built the company, she said finally, on your money, on your land, and he's been moving cash off the books while telling the court he's the one who made it all. Yes, I said. She asked how I wanted to play it. I told her I did not want to fight him across a table. I did not want a scene. I wanted the record to speak, in the one room where he could not talk over it. I slid one more page across, 612 words. The letter I had written to the court weeks before, plain and unangry. Every number in its place. A company they were valuing at $2.4 million, resting on a foundation with my name at the bottom. Nadia read it twice, set it down, and said, "You understand what this does." So we come back to the room. The 11 people, the folded hands, Dana near the aisle. Bryce in a suit I had picked out 3 years earlier, comfortable as ever. He took the stand, and he was good. He is always good in front of an audience. For 22 minutes he told the story of himself, the trucks, the crews, the nights he swore he worked alone. "I built this," he said. He said it 6 times. I counted, the way I count. Each time, his eyes moved to me, checking that I had heard. Rick Salvo guided him gently, the way you lead a man, who thinks he is leading you. There was the line about a woman who never worked a day. There was the small, easy laugh. Bryce's mother nodded along. The story had been told so many times that even the people inside it believed it. I said nothing. Nadia said little. To anyone watching, it looked like a rout. Then Judge Patricia Vance, who had let the whole performance run without interruption, folded her hands over a single page in front of her. She had been unhurried all morning, the kind of quiet that has authority woven into it. She looked at Nadia, then at me. "The petitioner submitted a written statement to this court," she said. "For the record, I'm going to read it." The judge put on her glasses. Bryce was still smiling. He shouldn't have been. She read it in a flat, ras-a-vin voice, which was the only way it needed to be read. It began with a number, $186,000, inherited, deposited, traced into the first equipment, and the down payment on the yard. It named the deed, and the county record that matched it. The land the company sat on still in my name. It named the trust, intact, for 19 years. And then, without heat, it listed 3 accounts, and $240,000 moved quietly off the books over 18 months. Each transfer dated, each figure in its place. 612 words. Not one of them angry. I watched the room change. It does not happen all at once. It happens in small settlements, a shoulder lowering, a smile going uncertain, a mother's folded hands coming apart. Rick Salvo stopped writing. Bryce looked at me the way you look at a road you have driven 1,000 times and suddenly do not recognize. Judge Vance set the page down and ruled in about 9 minutes. The house was mine, because it had always been mine. The rest followed from there. There was no gasp, no gavel crack of triumph, just the quiet arithmetic of a thing balancing at last. Outside, in the parking lot, Dana caught up to me. She asked what I had written in the letter. I told her the truth. Not one angry word, just the numbers, and my name, on every page.